So I'm gonna start streaming. I don't know. Check and see if we going live, man. God dog. Let me see. All right. It's not waiting on me no more, right? Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this thing anyway, man, whether we got it or not. But you know something? I can always record. So I'm recording it too. So we're doing it all. All right, guys, what I wanted to talk about today, I actually had somebody, and guys, it seems like every day I talk to somebody is always a reason to do content. I mean, I could probably come up with content just about every day. But one thing that we did have, and I'm looking back at my board, guys. You guys see me looking back at the board. I'm actually looking back at the board because I'm looking at the content that I wrote down here. But we were talking about, you run into problems with homeowners, you get into a little headache with them, and you're in the process of building, and you're almost kind of maybe almost at the end. That's when you always have your problems. It ain't gonna be at the beginning. Everybody's gonna be happy at the beginning because the money is there. And then you start to get toward the end, and then you guys kind of fall out of grace with one another. You know, what do you do? I mean, how do you part ways? If you have to part ways, what do you do? Now, here's the first thing. Let me just kind of go over. I'm gonna get your questions too, but let me just kind of go over the main part of it. Let me just see. I gotta kind of get this camera down a little bit since I'm sitting down. But now, the first thing I think you got to do is you got to make sure yourself is right. When I say you got to make sure yourself is right, number one, you got to make sure that you got to make sure your business is on point. You can't be out here, and that's what we talk about, especially when I deal with a lot of, when I talk to African American contractors, a lot of time we really don't have our business in order. When I say business, I'm not just talking about just your insurances and all your office stuff. I'm talking about being able to estimating the job. Because if you get that job wrong and your estimation is wrong, it's going to cost you way more than what it's supposed to cost. And then this is where you get into the money problem. Typically, you're going to have a problem when there's money, or if there's change, if somebody do some change orders and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is, you have to have yourself in order first. You have to have your contract right, and you have to be able to estimate that project right. And you also, one of the first things you need to do is really vet that customer, make sure that you and that customer guys, I can't bill for everybody. Everybody's not my customer. This is not like Burger King or Walmart, have it your way or whatever they say. You just can't do that, man. You as a builder, you have to vet the customers. You have to decide whether or not you can work for these guys, because really what you're doing is working for them. And then also, like I said, if you don't have your contract right, if you got loopholes and stuff, and you have a half-ass contract, that's gonna come back and bite you. Or if you mess around and you didn't set the right expectations for that customer, you told them, hey man, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and that starts off with how much you charge it. So if you set these expectations, you said that the house is going to be $500,000, it's really going to be $550,000. When you got $50,000 out there floating around, that probably is going to be on the back end. On the back end, they're going to have to pay it. So that's the first thing you want to make sure you got right, man. You want to make sure you got yourself right and your business right. Then if you got that stuff right, then you can't just walk away, because you got a contract with that homeowner. You can't just, because you guys are not operating right, you can't just walk away from that homeowner because you got a contract. So that contract is going to stipulate how you guys are going to engage when there's a problem. Most contracts is going to force you to do an arbitration or what they call it, mediation or arbitration. I think you start with mediation first and then you go into arbitration. And most contracts are going to have that. And then if you have to end up going into arbitration, so you start out with mediation first. Mediation means You guys meet you meet and you have lawyers that gets in and they do the mediation process for you. So that's when you have to get attorneys and stuff involved because they go through the mediation process with you. But once you do that, if you guys and really what they put you in a room, they put them in a room, and you guys talk about it, and this is what they should do, and this is what they should do, and then they try to mediate and work out a solution. So that's how it works. If that don't work, you go through arbitration. And what's going to happen in arbitration is you're going to have people that's in the trades, like you have a builder, you have maybe real estate agent, you have somebody that understands the trade. And what they're going to do is they're going to make a decision, just like you go into court. And that decision is going to be final. It's not going to be no, you're going to, and typically a lot of time, in order to get to the point of arbitration, there's other legal stuff that your attorney got to go through first, like you got to perfect what they call, like you're going to file liens and stuff like that. So those things have got to be perfected legally. That's why you got to have an attorney on this stuff. This ain't something you want to get out here and do yourself. Guys, you got to have a whole team. So typically your attorney is going to run you through that process. Plus, if you're out here busy, man, you ain't got time to be fooling with that. And so that attorney is going to file your lien. So if you're going to put a lien on the house, you got to put your lien because they probably going to owe you some money. If you get into a situation where that homeowner owes you some money, so you got to file those liens, but those liens have to be perfected. And there's a process with that. Once they perfect it, then you go through arbitration. The arbitration is done and the decision is made. But whatever the decision is, it's final. Now, I think you can appeal that, but it's pretty much final. There's no, well, I'm gonna go do this right here. I'm gonna sue you or something like that. No, and that's why you sign those contracts for arbitration. But you got to look at that because, like, say for instance, in my contract, and I use the standard home builders contract, which I think that's why I keep telling people they need to be part of the Home Builders Association so they can have access to those contracts. The contracts are really written to help the builders out. But if you're using one of those contracts, what you need to do is you need to make sure before you part ways with that homeowner. So you're in the middle of a job. Let's say you got, you putting in the hardwood floors or whatever, and you kind of getting toward the end. You at the final stretch of that house, and you guys just ain't clicking and getting along. You losing money. Y'all just not seeing eye to eye. Now, me personally, I would pump the brakes on that thing. I'd call all my subs, and especially if we trying to figure this money thing out, because I can't take no hit. Now, if the homeowner said, hey, I signed a contract, I don't have no problem with this right here because I know I'm gonna owe you this right here, and we on the same page on the money thing. They may not have the money right up front, but we can say, hey, you pay me $2,000-$3,000 a month until you pay everybody off. You see what I'm saying? If they did something like that and would be willing to sign a contract with me to say that they would do that, then I won't pump the brakes. I keep it going. But if I see them, if I see them saying, I'm going to pay you anything, and they just trying to get me to get all my guys out there so I can be in debt with my guys, and then they just walk away and they leave me with the bill, no, I'm going to pump the brakes. We're going to hit this. We're going to stop this. We're going to go through the full dynamics of this contract. So, and typically the contract says that if you got a problem, now my contract says we got a problem, that homeowner needs to send me in writing, certified mail. They need to send me in writing the problem. But they have to give me 30 days. I think it's 30 days to remedy that problem. The homeowner just can't walk away, nor can I just walk away. So they need to give me, let's say, 30 days to allow me to correct that problem. It might be, well, we're not on the same page on how much this right here costs or something like this right here. So now we need to figure out a solution. We need to come up with something to figure this thing out. And so, once we figure that out, then we go to the next step. But like I say, you just can't walk away. You got to look at that. You got to abide by that contract. There's several different contracts out there, man. You got to operate within the boundaries of that contract. Now, in the event that homeowner don't send me the letter and they just walk away or they fire me, now you can fire a builder. in the state of Alabama, you can build your own house. You don't have to have a home builder. If you're building your own house and you can show that you own the deed, or you own the deed to the property, you can build your own house. They can always go down to the municipality and say, hey, I want to finish my house up. But in order for them to do that, in most municipalities, what those municipalities are going to do is they're going to make them sign some kind of documentation saying that they're going to fire that builder, because you can't have two permits on the same house moving at the same time. So they're going to fire that builder, and then once you fire the builder, once they fire that builder, then they can assume the building now, and they can go get the permit. But at that point, you didn't fire the builder, so now you done told the builder he can't do any more work. So now really what that is, so now you have taken away the builder's ability to work on that house. Does that make sense? So really what you've done is, so that's really a breach of contract. So the homeowners actually breached the contract with the builder. If now, let's just say, for instance, I just say, man, I can't afford to build this house and I already lost money on it, and I can't afford to finish it up, and I walk away, well, then I'm in breach, because that's not what it's about. I'm in breach, and then what happened is that homeowner can come back and sue me to finish that house up, because now I'm in breach. So this happens, man. So I guess one thing is, man, you don't want to get in a situation to where you want to try to finish the houses up, man. Me, guys, I would rather finish, even if I didn't make all the profit that I would. Now, one thing I'm not gonna do. Now, sometimes I don't make the profit that I want to make, but ultimately, I'm gonna try to finish that house. If I don't make the profit that I don't want to make, that I wanted to make, does that make sense? Problem is, if I don't make the profit that I want to make, right? But now on the back end, I'm starting to pay for your house now. That's when we're gonna have a problem. At that point, we will have a major problem. Now that one I would not, and that's like I said, I would just stop. So if I start to see that not only am I not gonna make the profit that I'm gonna get, I'm gonna also start eating some of the cost of your house, which we didn't agree to. So I'm not gonna do that. So that's kind of what you get into, man, with this. If you're trying to part ways with that homeowner. But like I said, man, everybody's bounded. Everybody's bounded to. Everybody got to play their part. Did that I kind of answered the question about the lawyer too, then?
Yeah.
All right. What was the other question? What was the?
Do you have to pay to get out the contract?
Well, you really paying. If you guys part ways, both parties gonna end up paying. You're gonna pay one way, cause like if you got to go get an attorney. Hold on just a second, man. I knew these guys. Hey, man. Hey, what's going on? I couldn't really see it, man, but if it's the closest thing you got to that color, I don't have a problem with it. But if it is what it is. Okay, well, we're gonna have to go with that then. All right, buddy. Yeah, I apologize, man, but yeah, man, that's what you want to do, man, and just trying to part ways with these guys, it's a pain, man, and it's guys. I'll be honest with you, it's just not custom jobs. I honestly believe that moving forward, probably in the next 4 or 5 years, like people go out and get custom houses built for themselves. They got their own property. That's going to be a thing of the past, man. No one's going to be able to afford it. Builders not going to want to do that stuff, because, and I don't know if the expectations have changed. I mean, I think it's more or less expectations have changed. You got, and here's the thing, man. It's not bad on both parts. It's just that homeowners are more savvy, so builders just can't tell them anything now. And then not only that, homeowners are they're looking at Pinterest and stuff like that, and all these HGTV shows and stuff like that, and they got these ideas in their head, and they don't. In a lot of cases, they don't understand that stuff costs money, and so that's That's beginning to be an issue. Money is not as free as it used to be. Interest rates have gone up. Interest rates. Most of the time, if you just paying interest on a house, um, you pay interest like the first 7 years. I mean, you just like be probably 90% interest. And then it started to trickle over into the principal. But now interest is double because of the interest rates almost double. And so that's one thing too. So it's making houses cost more money. So houses are more expensive now. And people just don't have we call it, there go my camera. We call it inflation. I don't know if it's inflation. I don't really think necessarily we're dealing with inflation. I think I was talking about this at one point in time that I don't think it's really inflation. I think what's happening now is that, well, there is some inflation because due to the COVID and stuff like that, they pumped all this money, so it devalued the money that's already out there. But what ended up happening was a lot of these companies, because they kind of dominate like the concrete, the lumber, and stuff like that. They're the only guys in town, and they can just go up on their costs. You don't necessarily, it don't necessarily have to be gas prices going up. They just and here's the thing: when gas go back down, they don't come back down with the cost. That becomes the new norm. So these corporations is just going up. They're getting profit because they can. There's nobody else in the game against them. There are no new companies that's coming up that's competing with these guys for and elbowing each other over dominating the market. There's no more competition out there, man. Because I mean, if you only got 4 or 5 concrete companies, what are you gonna do? And I know those guys are probably talking to each other. There's some colluding going on with those companies and stuff. But guys, yeah, you don't want to just break away and just say, "Hey, man, I'm done with you, buddy." You better look at now. If you guys had a handshake contract and you really didn't write anything up, there's nothing that's binding you to them, because it's hard to prove stuff through verbal. If you had a verbal contract, it's very difficult to do verbal contracts. I wouldn't do it, you know. But the best way I think what's going to happen now, man, the best way to really do anything is do a simple cost plus. I don't, and let the homeowner be very transparent on what was spent. Matter of fact, I'd rather for the homeowner just go ahead and write checks for everything and let them pay, and then they pay me at the end. Let me be more of a consultant. But according to the Home Builders Licensing Board, even if I'm a consultant on that house, they still consider me as a home builder. So that's another thing too. So we got to look at that as well. Now I know I'm going off on a different subject. I'm leaning more on, somebody need to get with the Home Builders Association and change. They need to quit calling us home builders. They really need to just call us residential general contractors. Because technically, man, I don't go out there and build anything. I just contract everything out. And we need to be just residential general contractors. And then also, I think that framers should have the same qualification as your plumbers, electricians, who's the other guy, and mechanical guys. I think all those guys have licenses. They got journeyman cars and stuff like that. I think framers should be the same way. Residential framers, yeah, you got to have these right here, and let those guys have their certification as well, and they have to call in their inspections and stuff. I think we should do it like that here in the state of Alabama. So those are some of the things. But like I said, guys, definitely staying on point. You don't want to you want to look at the whole thing, man. You want to try to keep from just busting up, just walking away from a job. Just walking away and the homeowners sitting here trying to figure out what's going on. Nor should the homeowners be out here doing disingenuous things as well. Like you have homeowners engaging with the subcontractors and just doing all kind of crazy stuff, or just not paying and doing change orders and stuff. And there needs to be an understanding of all that stuff.
I was going to ask once you write out the contract, just like we went over to that house and and put that concrete back there. Is that a breach of the contract?
Depends on what I had in the contract. So if I had on the contract, hey, everything needs to go through me, then it probably would be. But that wouldn't be something that would make me walk away from the contract. Now, a lot of times when there are things that's what makes people walk away is they see they fixing to lose some money. That'll make you walk away because you see, hey man, I already lost this, I'm finna lose more. And you can kind of see where this thing is going. Or you can kind of look at the subs. I got this many subs got to come in and spend this amount of money, and he only got this amount of money left. God, I ain't gonna have enough money to do this job, you know. So that'll make you walk away. You see how that works. But I would, you know, like if this is something little like that, I would just really, I would just like to know about it. That's not really hurting anything, but he's spending money. The problem is that when you add that little bit of that additional concrete on there, that homeowner spent that money, right? Well, that's money that could have went somewhere else because I know you're gonna be over somewhere else. You see, maybe you want to hold off on this right here until we get this thing done to make sure we got enough money to get it done. You see, but that will, it depends on how that contract was written, man. That could be a breach. It could not be a breach. But even if he did something like that on that little part, I wouldn't walk away from it. You know, over that, man. We just have to tell you, man, you know, why don't you let me finish this thing before you start doing all this additional stuff? That becomes a problem too, man. A lot of the homeowners, now I'm seeing this a lot more and more, that these homeowners get in here and they want to, they engage with the sub that you bring on site. Now that could be a breach. Because I've had, I don't like for my homeowners to engage with my subs while we're there, while I'm there building that house. But, you know, when I'm gone, I mean, get the number, man. When I'm gone, y'all do what y'all want to do. I don't have no problem with that stuff, but, you know, but not while I'm there, because it gets confusing. It gets confusing for everybody. So now the subs don't know who to listen to. You know, they kind of confused. Do I listen to this guy? Do I listen to this guy? They need to just get there needs to be one stream of information. And it really needs to come from the builder. If the homeowner sees something that's going wrong out there, something that they thought should have been a certain way, what that homeowner should do is they should call that builder and route that through that builder. But there's a lot of things that goes on, and they don't really know why we doing it the way we're doing it, but it is what it is. I'm trying to think of what else. You got any other questions? Or you want to go into this next one? What was the other? Everybody wants to be a builder. I've been noticing that lately too. A lot of people want to be builders now, especially in the African American community. Like all the African Americans, like if I talk to an African American male, or even a lot of these African American real estate agents, you know, they out here, you know, they building too. Everybody want to be builders, but no one want to be subcontractors. They don't want to do any of the sub trades, which I find to me, that's problematic. And the reason it's problematic is because everybody, you know, if you got a bunch of chiefs, you don't have any Indians, but you created yourself a problem. Now in the African American community, man, the problem that we have is that we're not grooming our youth to be subcontractors. We're just not. We're not grooming these guys. Not just that. Let's see which one of these guys. Not just that. There are not enough of us. There are not enough of us out here. Like there are not enough subcontractors. When I say subcontractors, I mean like framers, drywall, painters, floor installers, roofers, okay, gutter guys. We can keep going. Garage door openers, you know, we can keep going with this game. You know, those are all subcontractors. But here's the key with the subcontractors, guy. They do their part and they're gone. You go to the next guy. You're not going to be sitting here engaging with this homeowner for 6 to 8 months, waiting for you guys' interactions to break down And then now this guy don't want to pay. Are you dealing with the situation where you having to part ways and all that kind of stuff? See, the subcontractor is not going to have to deal with that.
He just do what he paid to do.
Yeah, he do his job. He's there. Worst case scenario, you got your what's the guy? You have your what's the other guy? Let's say for instance your framer. Framer's there for a month. Taking about 4 weeks to frame a, let's just say a 3,600 square foot house on a basement. Takes you a month to frame it, right? He does his job, gets his money, go to the next guy. And if he good enough, man, I mean, and a lot of these guys, once they kind of get that momentum going, they can go train and hire other guys, and they can have crews. You can get you another. I got this crew. I'm gonna get another crew, and then now you got 2 crews, and you can go do this. I mean, you got another builder that you can do the same thing for. The problem is, guys, I'm telling you, man, in the African American community, who do you know that's going to school right now that wants to be a framer? Or who do you know? How many African American framers you know that's out here framing right now and that's training their son to be framers? And we ain't even got to look at that. You can just go into, I mean, I'm just talking about right here in Alabama. I mean, there's some that exist. My uncle and my second cousin were the best framers I ever met. I mean, those guys could frame. I mean, he could frame. They did what they call the advanced framing techniques, 2 stud corners. He did what they call inline frame. He was an engineer too. He had his engineering degree. So he did inline framing where you can stand at the end of the house and you just saw 1 stud all the way through that house. You can see what lines up. And then not only that, you could, if you stack the rafters right on top of those studs, you can space them 24 inches on center. When he got finished framing one of my houses that he did for me, I almost sent back 3/4 of the lumber. I sent it back. The lumber guy couldn't even believe it. And not only that, those guys didn't use nail guns. He hammered everything because you can feel it. You didn't waste no nails. But you don't get those anymore, guys. I mean, he stopped framing. He actually works for the railroad now. But he was one of the best framers I've ever had. Not one of, he was the best that I've ever had. Saved me a whole lot of money on that job too. But you don't have that anymore. I think that was 20 years ago. You don't have guys like that anymore. You don't have, especially in the African American community. We done told all our boys, hey man, go out here and shoot a basketball, or run a football through the goalposts and stuff. That's how man, you can spit this rhyme and you can make some good money doing that. And we don't see loan, because guys, you're not gonna get it. Like if you're a subcontractor, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I mean, it's not gonna happen in 5 years. It's gonna take you about 5 years to build a company. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, man. I mean, we don't have enough fight in us to stick with it, because, man, most businesses go dead. They die within 5 years. They die. They don't turn a profit, so they end up dying out. But we got to get these guys. And not the funny thing, but the crazy thing is that, like I said, I did that YouTube video on this right here, the Davis-Bacon Act, which was the minimum wage law. And prior to that, all the government contractors were African American. They got all the government contracts because they were able to bid lower. They were able to get, their labor was lower because they weren't the skilled. They weren't considered highly skilled laborers. And so when the government stepped in and said, hey, you got to pay everybody this right here, well, the lower skilled guys didn't have a job. So they couldn't even get out here and get any experience. So all the African American contractors were done. That was the first coffin in the nail of destroying subcontractors. Because if we look at our dads, like my dad, we didn't really go out and hire a builder to build a house, man. You got the people in the community. You had a carpenter in the community. You had a plumber. You had electricians in there. And they all got together and they built those houses in that community, and they built it by hand. Yeah, all them guys got to get up and built those houses. And when they built the houses, I mean, and then somebody else needed a house, they did, that's what they did. And so those guys, they were subcontractors. So those subcontractors went and taught their sons. Like, and not only that, like, man, I remember my dad would have me out there. I'd be out there. My dad made me pull all the nails out some lumber one time, man, and I had to straighten up all the nails. I had to because they were gonna reuse the nails. And I was just sitting there, man, getting the board get put up, man. And I was there all day, just collecting nails while them guys were building, and I was learning. And that's another thing, man. You learn. See, a lot of people think that, that young African American boys don't need their father around. Man, we learn how to be men, not from what our father is telling us and talking to us about. We learn from just watching him. We watch how he engaged with other people, how he engaged with contractors and stuff like that, or the guys in it. And that's how we learn how to be men. And so, but that's far and few between now, man. And now, we have the Hispanics that came, a lot of guys came from across the border, and they came here and they were seeking a better life. A lot of those guys were farmers. They did all the farming and stuff over in Mexico and stuff like that. And these guys, they didn't have a lavish lifestyle, so they came here. They didn't have a lot of debt, so they were able to undercut a lot of the contractors here. They were able to undercut white and black contractors. This probably happened, about 20 years ago, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And so when they started, so they got the cost down. Because black and white subcontractors, they couldn't afford, because we had already accumulated debt, so we couldn't afford to work for what those guys were accepting. And so we went out and took jobs. And those guys took all the trades, the sub trades. And so now, we fast forward to today, you don't see any more African Americans nor white Americans doing construction, and not in the sub trades. You see them in the licensed trades, MEPs, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. But you don't. That's kind of where you see. That's kind of where you see us. If you see us in the trade, that's where you're gonna see us at. But but when we lost that, and the Hispanic guys kind of took their costs down, then we got out of the business, man. And so we took these jobs. And guys, these corporations don't give a damn about you. If you work for a corporation, but that's a whole nother subject. But when we took all these trades, when we stopped doing all these trades because we was undercut, now if you fast forward to today, they done bumped the costs up. And now that's another reason that we call it inflation, but I don't really think it's inflation. They're going up because they can. So now if you don't have any African Americans that can frame a hang in mud and sand sheetrock, they can't do that no more because they didn't learn the skill from a dad or something like that. Then you're stuck with having to go to the guys and whatever they charge you, you got to pay it. There's no competition anymore. These guys they corner the market until somebody figures something else out, and that's where the AI and all that kind of stuff is going to creep in. That's going to creep in, and people are going to get tired of paying these costs of just being dependent on subcontractors coming out doing the job. There's just, we could just hire a 3D printer, come out and print the whole house. That's what's going to end up happening. But but like I said, man, these corporations, man, a lot of these corporations, they have no loyalty to you. So, the strangest thing, man, and we're loyal to these corporations instead of being loyal to yourself. I don't know. You got anything you can think of?
I learned how to do shingles. My father-in-law, he never actually let me do it. He just stand over and watch.
Yeah, and when you watch it, then eventually you're gonna try it out.
Like, well, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I had already figured out the little 4 step, 3. I had figured out the technique already
That's right. And so that's what we got to get, man. But unfortunately, man, it always circles right back around to this right here, man. Unfortunately, we don't have our fathers in the households anymore. And that's a whole nother subject, man. That's just that's just unfortunately, right now the relationship between black males and black females, I think, really is at a almost all-time low. Is at a point to where we're not even reproducing. At one point in time, now let me just say this right here: we are reproducing. Yeah, people ain't gonna want to hear this right here. The lower tier blacks are reproducing, and when I say lower tier, like people who are probably not that savvy, yeah, they are reproducing. But the people who trying to get themselves together and kind of got out the rut and they kind of got things and they make a little money, they're not reproducing in mass numbers. And so we're actually, and matter of fact, we're not even reproducing enough to replace the black people that's already here. And you're looking at, and this is just not about black and white, but even if you look at the industry itself, subcontractors. If you look at the industry right now, the average age of these subcontractors is about mid-40s, 47 years old. What happens when these guys die? What happens when these guys, they're not here anymore? They can't pass it on to their sons and stuff like that, because a lot of the sons, well, I'm speaking for the black community, but well, there are not enough of us out here doing the trades. I mean, I don't know where we're gonna go with this, man. It just, huh? No, they ain't gonna want to do it, man, because it's too much work for them, man. They don't, and you gotta want to work for it. A lot of these guys don't want to get out here and work. They don't want to get their hand. I mean, but we done trained them that way, man. And a lot of these guys, what is it, 75 to 80%? I got to look this thing up, man. I wonder what percentage of, it's about 75 to probably about 78% of African Americans are born out of wedlock. So about 75% of, this is use 75% of the guys out here, you go to any school, you see a black guy, he has a 75% chance that his biological father is not in the household with him, right? And really, to be honest with you, I think it's a 75% chance that he don't have any man in the household. So in what's happening is, in a lot of cases, the mom is grooming that guy. She's socializing him. And in a lot of cases, man, I can see it happens a lot. She picks his clothes out, and she want him to wear these nice clothes and stuff like that. Well, and then they get mad at him if they mess around and mess him up. Don't get your shoes dirty, just stuff like that. And so these boys are wearing these clothes and stuff, and they being emasculated, man, because they don't want to get the clothes dirty, so they don't want to work because they don't want to mess up their clothes. I mean, they don't want to get dirty, I mean. My mom didn't. Now, when I was coming up, we had school clothes and we had play clothes. First thing you did when you came home is you take them school clothes off and you put on your play clothes. And you get out there and you didn't care nothing about your play clothes. You messed them up. But these kids don't know anything about school clothes and play clothes. They're just clothes to them and they can't mess them up. So you got a generation of boys. Man, let me tell you, man. I was driving a school bus. I used to drive a school bus. And I had one guy, man, he wanted me to pick him up in front of his house, right? He didn't want to catch the bus where the other students were, right? Because students kind of pile up together. There's about 4 or 5 students in different houses. They pile up right here, and I pick them up at the corner, right? Well, where his house was, like where the students congregate, the bus stop was. And where his house was up a hill, right? So I was like, man, why in the world you want me to pick you up at your house? What's the problem? I mean, all you gotta do is just walk down this hill right here. You know what this dude told me? Can you guess what he told me? Why he didn't want to walk down the hill? Nah, man, he didn't want his shoes to bend. Oh. He didn't want his shoes to bend. You know what I'm talking about? so that his shoes won't get used. You know, he won't have no.
Yeah.
This is what he said, man.
He for real too.
Yo, no, he was for real. And this is where we at. This is where we at, man. And I don't know if there's any way that, man, you would have to be honest with you, man, we would have to, and God, it's gonna sound weird. We would have to pivot right now. I'm talking about with everything. You had to get all our kids off social media. Just wipe it. You can't TikTok. You can't do none of that. The girls, none of that. No TikTok. You had to and pivot 180 degrees, and it still would probably take us about 25 to 30 years to get to normalcy, to get normal, to get where we probably need to be at. Because I think the mindset would have to really change. So we would have to have solid families. You have to have dads in the household with the boys. Yeah, man. So this is the thing. I can't say, man, I'm a little Thundercats that got here. And here's the thing, man, them guys want to work. I don't know if you saw them out there, man. They was out there tearing up these guys like to do what they do, man, but I'm just with them maybe 2 hours a day.
Ain't enough time. I was telling my wife about it, and I was saying that probably half of them ain't coming back this way when they get out of high school.
That's right. Man.
And it's the best thing for you. I wish I would have did it.
Yeah.
I was coming out of high school, I'd probably be rich now.
Yeah.
They're trying to struggle on and figure it out. But they're in a good spot.
18. Now I can see them. They embrace one. I can't say that when I talk to them. I mean, you can see them, man. They be all in. They be into it, man. But not only that, man. We have to get more influencers too. Like me, you. We got to have more of us out here that's engaged, that's in a platform where we can reach out and grab some of these boys, man, and try to work with them, man. But man, they in a good spot, man. They in a great spot. They can learn. They're in dual enrollment. They're getting college credit for this. Then they learning how to do it, man. Then I can connect them with some of the people in the industry because I'm out here doing it. So they're in a great spot. It's just that, like you said, man, I only got 2 hours with these guys all day, man. And when I turn them loose, they go right back to being around the mindsets of the things that they don't need to be around. And I honestly, to be honest with you, man, I actually think we need to just do what they call a gender-based school. Just gender-based. We're going to have the Girls Academy here, Boys Academy here. And the Girls Academy, I'm talking about an African-American community, right? The Girls Academy, you guys are going to learn some kind of etiquette on how to be women, and ultimately, at some point in time, be wise. If you're on a track to be a wife, I think that should be determined. And then the boys, okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead. When you walk in here in the 9th grade, we're gonna give you a competency test or something like that. And we're gonna figure out what you're good at. And we're gonna, if you're a carpenter, we fixing to focus on carpenter. You're gonna be a carpenter by the time you're 16. I'm gonna be able to turn you loose out on one of these houses right here. You got a 2-year apprenticeship program when you're gonna learn, and we're gonna put you on this right here, and you're gonna learn how to be a carpenter. Boom, right now. It don't take long. You get out there if you want to do it, you can do it. And
Some of the easy work I ever done. For real. I done worked in warehouses, get out top places. The easy work I ever done.
yeah, man, you can make good money, man. The only thing that now, in your case, what you would need is a team. That is where you're gonna find your problems at. Your team. How can you get? All right, it's gonna take you about. Let's just look at this. If you're gonna frame, let's just say you're gonna be a framer, right? It's gonna take you. You're gonna need about. You don't need a crew, but you're gonna need to be you, and you're gonna have to have 5 more guys, like-minded, will show up every day
I know that too. Like
on time.
my father-in-law, he and his brother, they know what to do. I kind of know, but everybody else don't. You gotta explain and teach me.
Well, see, everybody's not gonna not like say no, your father-in-law was doing it. That's the way you want to do it. So you're gonna have all right. So I'm gonna break down the framing crew. All right, so you're gonna have 2 guys. One of them is gonna be the brains. One of them's gonna be somewhat the brains. I can cut him loose. He can kind of like the journeyman. I can leave him at the site. He can run that whole site by himself if need be. But I'm gonna be there too. So I'm the brains. I got my journeyman there. He knows how to do all the cuts and stuff. He might not be as savvy on the business side of it and stuff like that, but he understands framing enough that he can make all the cuts. He can actually make all the cuts from the ground. He can sit right there in one place, and we can handle them boards. He can make all the cuts. So you got this guy, you got the journeyman guy, them 2 guys, and then you're gonna have 2 more guys. All you need to do is tote boards. You just tote boards, man. You tote boards all day long, okay? And you need to understand what boards are what. I need 2 by 12. I need 2 by 10. I need 2 by 10 by 8 feet. They need to be able to, and then I can change that around to not saying 2 by 10. I need a header, so he already know I need to go get a 2 by 10. Hey man, I need you to go back there and get those stringers over there. So he already knows stringers are gonna be 2 by 12. So he knows this. You see, so the terminology is gonna start coming. But them 2 guys, you're gonna be toting lumber all day long. Boom, you're gonna get up here. And you're gonna get those boards up, you're gonna line them up, you're gonna get everything lined up, and then you're gonna have one guy and that other guy that's kind of sort of the brains. They're gonna be up there putting it together. That's what they're gonna be doing. That's your crew. And you're gonna come in at 7 o'clock, take you a 30-minute, you're gonna bring your lunch. Ain't nobody gonna be going to wasting another hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, I had McDonald's. You don't need to be eating that stuff anyway. But you're going to bring your lunch. Y'all going to sit right down there. You're going to get your sardines or whatever it is. You're going to crackers and stuff like that. And you're going to eat that stuff right there. Take about 30, 35 minutes. You know, you're probably going to be, and that's one thing we do. We be joking. We get joking and stuff, man. That'll linger on. But you got to have somebody that can shut that down. That head guy, hey, man, let's go. It's about business again. And they're going to get up there, man, and they're going to start again. Take a 30-minute, hour lunch at the most, take a little break, and then jump right back at it, man. Get paid at the end of the week. That's how it needs to be. And that's what you're going to need. And you know something, the reality is you can find them guys, but they're just not going to. Their mind. I'm gonna tell you where you can find them at. You know where you can find them at? You can find 5 of them. I can take you right now, and we go get 5 of them right now. You can go to any Arab-owned corner store in West End, and you'll probably see about 4 or 5 of them standing out there in front of that store, doing nothing. Shooting dice, joking on each other, talking, looking at cars and what kind of rims I put on my car. I'm telling you, man, they're there. But you will have to, the problem is you have to undo their mindset.
Not the one that I don't make home.
Not the one to be like, hey, man, yeah, I mean, this is what you're going to do today. You're going to be working, but I'm going to pay you now. We're going to pay you. That's, dog, I don't know how we're going to do that, man. I don't know if we're, I don't know, man. Yo, what else you thinking? I know, man. I just be trying to. I just don't know, man. I just, huh?
I know I learned a lot of information just about anything you be talking about. Because it's in my head, but I just don't.
You think? So what we're doing is, I don't like to think about the problem without having a correction. But I think we got a correction, but you got to undo the mindset, man. Because right now, man, we are, roll that word up there, de-evolving as a race. We're literally de-evolving. We're de-evolving, man. And we could do it. We have the means to do it. I was looking at the NFL. I like to watch some of the NFL games during, was it Sunday or something like that. And I was noticing, man, I was kind of looking at it, I was like, man, we're starting to have a lot of African Americans quarterbacks. At one time, you didn't have African American quarterback. Man, they had a joke, man. It used to be a joke when it was coming up, man. It actually was two jokes. One of the joke was, what do you call a white man surrounded by 10 black guys? that was the joke, right? Then they said, what do you call a white man surrounded by 5 black guys? Coach. Yeah, basketball, right? That used to be a joke, man. But now, guys, I mean, I'm looking at now, when I was looking at NFL, I was noticing, man, there's a lot of African American quarterbacks that's coming about. But one thing people are not paying attention to when it comes down to them quarterbacks, what do they all have in common? Right. No, not just that. If you just look deep into them. Jalen Hurts. What's the Bryce Young? They got both of their parents. When they start showing their thing, they show that dad there too, man. Man, I'm telling you, man, if you had black, now I'm gonna tell you something, man. Statistics show, statistics show that when there's an when the African American male dad is there, if he's married to his wife, right, with his kids, if he's there in the household with his kid, he actually spends more time, devote more time to his kids than any other race of man on this planet. Yeah, man. Oprah did a little thing on that. She talked about that. So Oprah's coming back. She's pivoting, and she's coming back, saying some good things about brothers, man. But yeah, man. If you had fathers, if the black fathers were there present with their boys, man, it's probably almost unstoppable what these boys can do, man. I mean, I'm telling you, man, they're at a whole nother level. Like, you look at the football, man. Because what really hurts a lot of African American athletes in any sport, like say for instance in football, well, I say as a quarterback, sometimes what hurts us is the fact that if you're just overly athletic, your first instinct and impulse is going to be to run instead of go through your progressions and find those open guys and throw that ball and save yourself from all that abuse on your body. And I forgot my thought process where I was going with that. I was going to say that, but man, when you got those guys there, man, you got those fathers there, man, we could be unstoppable, man. But like, I thought about it. What really hurts us a lot of time when we play sports, what makes it really difficult for us when we play sports, is we allow our emotions to take control. But typically the African American males that allow their emotions to take control or get overly emotional are the ones who were socialized by their moms without the presence of their father. So notice those, like as a quarterback, you got to be able to drop back, man. This is business, man. You can't allow your emotions, and you can't dwell on things that you did wrong. I messed up, man. I'm gonna dwell. See, you keep dwelling on that stuff, man. You can't get better, man. You can't. You're thinking about this right here that happened 2 plays ago, and now you got a play happening to you right now, man. You can't bounce back, man. And that's the manly side of us that has to be there, and that's why these quarterbacks. I think these quarterbacks. I mean, just athletes in general, and that's one reason I don't think that you see a lot of us in baseball. Because of that, baseball is a skill sport, man, and you can't get overly emotional with that, man. You got to stick with the skill, But All right, guys, like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I'm gonna check this out and see how this thing works.